Okay, you guys are like standing on my card holder. Hey guys, welcome to a new video. My name's Liz, for anyone that doesn't know me. I am currently an au pair in London right now. This has been a long-awaited video, and I just finished my 3rd month here. I've got about 6 more weeks left, and then I go back home, and I thought it would be a really good idea to make a video before I go. For those that don't know, this is my 3rd time au pairing. I first au paired in Italy, which I feel like most of my subscribers or people that watch me know me from. And then I did it in Spain. This is my 3rd time now in London. A lot of people are asking me like what I wish I knew and like where I found my family and all this stuff, so I thought it'd be a good idea to make a video about it. So I think this video is gonna be should you become an au pair? My personal experience part 1. Let me give you a little backstory. So, okay. I hope you can hear me. Welcome to the video, by the way, if you're new. Right now, I'm actually in Verona. I thought it would be a good idea to do introduction for this video. The only reason I'm here in Italy is because I'm an au pair, and I'm assuming most of you guys clicked on this video because you're interested or you're thinking about it, or I've been in Italy a little over a month now. I came here in the beginning of September. I'm here till early January. I graduated college in May. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and then when I was home bored one day, I was scrolling on TikTok, and this girl, she was interviewing other girls, and they all started, mind you, these girls all now permanent work in Paris, and they all started off as au pairs, and they all said they got started on aupairworld.com. And so I was like, oh, so I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, that looks like so much fun. And then I applied. I think about maybe 2-3 weeks later, I found a family, which was my first family, and I did 2 FaceTime calls with them, and then I ended up booking my ticket for the month after, and then I came here. No one in my family did au pairing, or anyone I knew, nobody did it, so I was scared a little bit, but I was like, you know what's scarier? Never going for it. Okay, because you never know if it's gonna be the best thing ever. So yeah, I was nervous and scared, and then I came here, and only to find out that all the other au pairs were also scared too. It's either they didn't know what they were doing, or they knew someone that did it. They're all super young, and it's mostly we don't really know what we're gonna do, but we know we want to travel and see the world. So it was why not, you know?
I wanted to become an au pair because I just graduated college, and I was like, I don't want to be in America this summer. I typed into Safari, I was like, how to get to Europe with the cheapest way possible. And then it started saying au pair, au pair, au pair. I started looking on TikTok, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, this could actually be a feasible thing.
I just wanted to get out of Sydney. I just wanted to live my life.
Honest, I really just wanted a way to travel for a long time without spending as much money.
Because I had graduated a little bit early from college, and a lot of my friends were still kind of doing fun things with their friends, whereas I didn't really want to get a normal job yet. I really wanted to do more international travel.
Well, it's kind of a no-brainer. Babysitting, what I've been doing since I was 12, and then travel the world.
To be honest, I just wanted to travel, and I knew Italy was the place I wanted to travel, and I wanted a full immersion, so au pair was something I stumbled across. So yeah.
I wanted to live abroad, but still have the security, a safety net of a family or someone that's local. And then I thought au pairing was the perfect way to do that, and still kind of be on your own, but still have a safety net and not be in a different country.
All by yourself?
All by yourself, yeah.
Because I have my Italian citizenship, and I wanted to come and study here.
For me, it was the best way to learn about the culture.
First, I'm gonna start with what is an au pair. So if someone asked me, at the beginning, I was like, I don't really know how to explain this, but to keep it in short terms, it's an international live-in nanny that usually young girls or guys do when they're young, when they want to travel for a bit longer and stay in one city without spending as much money. So you're just working, but you do get a little pay. So I guess it's a good trade-off, because you learn more about the culture and the lifestyle of the specific country you're in, and they give you food, they give you accommodation. So the only thing you'd really be paying for is your flight and I guess things that you want to like buy. Weigh the pros and cons. Okay, I think the pros is that you get to travel for a longer amount of time without spending as much money. If you're from America like me and you want to go see Europe, many countries in Europe are near each other, so you could just book a flight that's much cheaper than it would have been from the US, and you can spend your weekends there, meet a lot of different people, try new foods, you know, it's the lifestyle, it's the culture, it's the tradition. You get to kind of immerse yourself in like a completely different place, because like me, I didn't know anyone in Italy or Spain, so it's kind of like you have to leave your comfort zone. I really liked it. I was very lucky to have very good families. I've heard horror stories. I'm very sorry for the people that had really bad experiences. I personally had a great experience. That's why I wanted to recommend this to young people out there. You don't even have to be young. Like, you could just do it if you want, if you've got the time. Cons, I might say you do get a little lonely. The pay is not much, but you are getting accommodation and food, so you just got to think about that. And sometimes kids are difficult depending on their age, how they've been like brought up. How did I find my family? I found them on aupairworld.com. I think I replied to like 20 comments being like aupairworld.com. That's where the majority of my au pair friends found their families. Some people were asking me if I went through an agency. No. In the very beginning, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos being like, should I use an agency? But I was like, I don't really think I need one. I don't really want to pay them either. But if you're really scared and it's your first time doing it, then yes. But I don't think you really need an agency. Like, worst comes to worst, you could just book a flight and go back home. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, agency is like if you really want to stay there, or like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like a waste of money. But if you're really scared and you've never done it before, then maybe go with an agency. But I don't personally think you need one. I do know some people, like another family I talked to, they, like in person, like in Spain, they don't want anyone living with them, but they just want the hours of an au pair. So they use an agency to get a girl, because the agency, like, they live, like, I guess they have like a building or an apartment where all the au pairs live. So they just go work at the house and then they go back to the agency, like, to like sleep and stuff like that. But personally, I don't think that's like the most like cultural exchange experience. Like, I think you really, once you live with them, like, that's like the real experience. Like, you're just jumping in. If you want to use an agency, go ahead. It's up to you. Okay, what family is the right fit for you? So that all comes to, what's your goal at the end of this? Like, is it, like, mine was solely just to travel. Is it like to learn about children, to learn about the culture? Like, what is it? Like, know what you're looking for, just so that like when you look into these families, like, their goals align with yours. How many kids, ages, and do they speak English? So when you're looking for families, like on aupairworld.com, some people only have their prompts in, like, say, like, if you're looking for families in Spain, some people only have it in Spanish. Most people have it in English, but like usually if it's in Spanish, if you understand it, whatever like country you want to go to, like, if you understand the language, great. But sometimes I mainly look for people that write it in English, because I just think they went out of their way to go translate it. So I personally like that. Usually they'll write it in their bio, like how old the kids are, how many they have, if they had an au pair before, if they speak English. That's like a big thing. Like, each experience for me was very different, because my first time in Italy, the mom and the daughter, it was like one girl, they spoke English very well, so I did not learn any Italian, like barely. I liked, because I don't know any Italian, and I was really there just to do all the touristy stuff, so learning Italian wasn't like my main goal. But like for Spain, because I studied Spanish in high school, I was like, oh, I really want a family that only speaks Spanish, so that like it like forces me to learn. So it's like kind of like, make sure you know what you're going for. Like, if you just want to solely go for their travel and you don't really care about the language and all that, just make sure it's like people speak English there. Just make sure you know what you want, is what I'm trying to say. Age is a very, very big thing that I did not think about. Personally, I think younger kids are more physically draining. Like, they're more, you need to help with them, like more hands-on, like a 2-year-old that I did in Spain. So adorable. Just a lot more hands-on, so it's like physically more tiring. But I think the older they are, like right now, the kid in London, he's 10, you know, he can do things by himself, but mentally I think it's more of like challenging, because like they don't want to listen to you. So it's more, keep that in mind, because don't just be like, oh my god, like kids, like they're all the same, like I can do that. Like make sure you keep their age in mind, because each age is very, very different. Like, are you gonna potty train them? Are you changing their diapers? Are you doing homework with them? Are you just coloring? Are you helping them with exams? Like, it's very, very different. House location. When you speak to them, some, I think more experienced, like people, like families that have already had au pairs, they know sort of what they want. So they put like, oh, like my house is like this many minutes from the train station or the bus station. That's really important, because on your off day, most likely they're not gonna be available to help you because they're watching the kids. So you're gonna be the one catching the train or the bus to go where you want. So make sure they have a bus or a train station near their house, just so that like you can go travel on your off day, which is basically what I did like every weekend. And make sure they have transportation near their house. Like even if it's like in Italy, it was like the electric scooters. Valencia, Spain, it was all buses, and London, it's all buses. So just make sure they have transportation, because sometimes they're not gonna have an extra car to give you, which is most scenarios. And yeah, so transportation is a big thing, because I mean, on your off day, you're probably gonna wanna leave the house. Setting up your profile. I would say write all about you and your hobbies, what you like to do, so they can kind of get to better know you as like what kind of person you are. Write all about your childcare experience, because that's like the most important thing that they wanna know. If you don't have any, just write like you have cousins or siblings or basic stuff that you know how to do, or like if you've babysat before. Say like, oh, I have experience, like what I think what I wrote was, in college I did a lot of babysitting, and write their ages, their genders, what they were like, and stuff like that. Also write about why you want to au pair. So I think I just wrote like, I want to travel the world and be able to learn about this certain culture. Like be very honest. Like the more open you are, like it's easier for you guys to communicate, because when you start reading those profiles on the families, you can kind of tell like which ones really put like effort into writing like about their family, and which ones just wrote like really, really short and like just want someone to work for them. It's very, I think it's different. So I personally go for the more authentic looking one. Although I will say, when I first started, I put like a very short prompt, and I was very lucky with my family, but I would say write more. More is better for that. Make sure your social media is child friendly, because I'm not gonna say which family, but like they were looking for an au pair after me, and they were asking me like my opinion, because they're looking up your names. Like if they're gonna let you like watch their child, they're obviously gonna be like, who is this person? They're gonna look you up on social media. If they're like pretty modern, they're gonna be like, does this girl look like a big partier? Like, so just make sure it's like child appropriate. Get rid of some it's like basically what you do for college. Like make sure you're okay with your college seeing that. And oh, you can put some photos on your profile. So I would probably say try to put some photos with your friends, your family, and like kids. Yeah, make it kid friendly as possible, or like a big accomplishment that you want to like talk about. And then once you've done all that, how you're gonna connect with them. Basically what I wrote to families, I think I was the one that wrote to each. No, actually I reached out to the family in Italy, and then the one in Spain reached out to me. If you're reaching out to them, I would probably say hi, and then be like, oh, my name is yada yada, and then I really liked reading this about your family. If you like my profile, here's my WhatsApp number, contact me if you'd like to speak. Very simple, to the point. You want to go there, they want someone. It's like very it's very like forward, I think. Like there's no point in like dragging this on. Like I remember Lainey being like, it's kind of like online dating. I agree, but like you both need each other. So it works a lot faster. While you're texting them, just to make sure like they're the right fit for you, write what dates they would need someone. So make sure their schedules line up with yours, because if you're an American going to Europe, if you're going without a visa like I did, you have 90 days to stay there. So it's exactly like 3 months. So make sure that's the 3 months that they need someone. I mean, when you go on aupairworld.com, you write what months you'd like to go, but just double check. And talk about your previous work experience. Like even if it's like not childcare, you could talk about like your part-time jobs you've had. Well, most likely if you're au pairing, you're probably gonna be like in your early 20s or even younger. So yeah, like write like what you did like outside of school. Ask for a room, like for your room and your bathroom pictures, okay? That's very important, because if you're gonna be living there for 3 months, you wanna have a decent room, okay? Ask like if they could send like a short clip of like their house or something. Okay, so from my experience, when I was in Italy, I didn't live with the family, but I lived like 5 minutes away from the car from somewhere that they owned. So I had the whole place to myself, which I love. But in Spain, their house was a lot bigger. So like I shared the bathroom with the kids, but only like for showers, like when the kids showered. And I had it to myself. I had a very big room, like with a little terrace. Like it was great. So just make sure you ask for photos, because for London I didn't, so that was my fault. But I learned my lesson. Working schedule. Most families are gonna tell you, okay, one thing also about families, I like families that are very specific on what they want. So some mothers will say, I need you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from like 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then during that time, you're gonna be doing this X, Y, Z, something, something, something. I personally like specific moms because they know what they want and they have like an expectation, and you just gotta meet those. Some moms, like for example, this one was a little different because she's a single mom, the one in London, so she needs my help with different things at different times. So yeah, usually they have a very specific time frame, but make sure they have that because so it doesn't get confusing, so you know like what time you're working and stuff like that. That was one of the difficulties I had here, because if I'm being honest, we didn't have a contract, so I was just very flustered when she needed me when I wanted to go do something. I like to ask, what is your parenting style? How do you feel about screen time? How do you feel about candy and sweets? What would you like me to know about the kids? Allergies? What is the transportation like? And where is the train? I think those are probably 6 of the most important questions, okay? And if you've gone through all that and you like the answers, and for the location wise, make sure you look up the location on maps to make sure it's like central, kind of. Doesn't have to be super central, but like central enough to where you can go visit other cities within that country. When I was in Spain, like Valencia's pretty close to Madrid. It's like a 2-hour train ride. So if you go to Madrid, you can go to literally all the cities there. So just make sure it's like not in the middle of nowhere. Say you like each other's answers, right? Start the FaceTime, okay? You're kind of already gonna like know each other because you've went through like questions and answers. And then say you got the job. Most of the time, the parents will send over a contract, okay? And it will talk about the pay and the hours and the duties. They have like an example contract on aupairworld.com, which is what my family used. They're gonna talk about off days and insurance. So for Europe, I got paid $75 in Italy for one girl that was 5 years old, because the cost of living is much cheaper in like Europe compared to London. And then I got 70 for Valencia, Spain. The hours were pretty much the same. I think in Italy it was like 2 to like dinner time, so like 6, 7. So it wasn't like horrible. It was actually really good. And in Spain it would be like from 3 to like 7. In London, it was my fault. I only asked for 80. When you're in London, you gotta ask for at least £100 a week. The hours are it's probably similar, like maybe 6 hours or less a day. And duties for most families would probably be like maybe cleaning up after the kid, doing the dishes sometime, and just keeping their house like tidy. Off days, you're most likely gonna have 2 days off a week. Not every week is the same though. Like sometimes if they're going away and you don't need to come, then they might ask you to work more hours another week and less hours this week. So like it's kind of like, it's not always the same. And insurance. Personally, I have never gotten insurance for the 3 times I've been au pairing. Some families might want you to take it. Some families might not really care. The one in Italy didn't really mind. So it's kind of up to you. I would probably say get insurance for countries that are a bit more dangerous. I don't know, I just didn't think I needed it. What you need to prepare before going is your phone bill. So make sure you can get like international phone plan somewhere. I got an eSIM card from Airalo for, I think it was a 90-day one for 50 gigabytes, which I thought was more than enough for both Italy and Spain. For London, actually, I didn't get it. I have T-Mobile, and with T-Mobile, you can get, I think 5 month like gigabyte for free. So I'm like barely on my phone here, but at least I'm not paying anything. So I guess it's more up to you. If you're always on your phone, then I'd probably get one. But if not, then just make sure your phone plan allows like a certain amount of coverage. Plane ticket for both Italy and Spain, I bought my own plane ticket. I only bought it one way to go because when I came back I would most likely want to visit other countries. So like that's what I did, like when I went to Italy, and then when I came back I visited London, and then I came back home. And in Spain I just went back home I think it was maybe like 700 round trip for both of them. Earlier you book the better. I like using Skyscanner, the app. For London though, the mom did pay for my airfare just because she needed me like in a week notice. I came here on a week's notice and I was basically dog sitting for the first month, so she paid for my round trip flight. Savings. Some people were asking about savings and how much they think you need. I know I hate when people say it really depends on what you do, but it really does, because in Italy there were like 10 other au pairs and we were going out like every night that we were off, so I definitely spend maybe like $1,000 a month there, just out of my pocket. But in Spain I think it was pretty similar too, because their train tickets are a bit more expensive. Yeah, and I went like around pretty much everywhere I could go. Just be safe to say $1,000 a month. In London, I'm not really doing like too much stuff, so I probably spent like out of my own money maybe like $100-200 a month. So it kind of depends on if you've got a lot of friends there and you want to go out more, then save up more, definitely. But if you know you're gonna be alone a lot of the time and you're not really like into going out, then I guess you don't really need as much money. The main costs that are gonna be like on your credit card is probably gonna be food, transportation, hostel, and activities. So like food, you gotta have food. I will say it doesn't all have to be like expensive. Like a lot of times I would just go to the supermarket and just buy grapes for breakfast, like when I was on my off day. But make sure you research like the cost of living at that specific country before you go. Transportation wise, I would say, I mean, in Italy and Spain, the transportation is pretty nice because there's so many like tourists. Maybe like 100 for like a train ticket to like a certain city. But make sure you like write down what cities you want to go to, just so that you could like budget out how much to bring. And I stayed in hostels, and I think they were usually around like 20 to 30 euros a night. And make sure you read the reviews, because I didn't do that once and I really learned my lesson. Activities, so like whichever like city, like what if that city's known for like a certain like architectural structure or like a cathedral or something and you want to go in, make sure you budget that in. But that's mainly what I spent my money on. And yeah, I think that's it. That's part 1, and part 2 will be packing and what I wish I knew. Yeah, that was basically like very short version of like what I learned as an au pair, being an au pair for the 3rd time. I will say though, I just wanna like tell, I guess, like someone, or if you're like thinking about it, I personally think it's a really great idea. It's gonna be hard. Nothing's ever really easy, but if you've got the courage to, you know, put yourself out there and try something new, go to a different country. It's really scary in the beginning. When I first did it, I was really scared. I didn't know anyone else that did au pairing, but I was like, you know what, if I don't do it now, like when am I gonna go? Yeah, I really wanted to go to Italy, and thankfully there were so many other great girls and guys there that were au pairing at the same time, and because of them I was able to have so much fun, make so many memories, make new friends. Yeah, it's a great experience. I would say don't just stay in your room all day. Go out, like even if it's like by yourself. Like you've come all that way to, you know, meet new people and immerse yourself in a new culture. So I would say don't just sit in your room. Go outside, like even if it's the park, go read a book outside. Like you'll end up meeting people. Like it just comes in very mysterious ways, but like it does. I will say, if I'm being honest, probably being in London was the hardest one, just because, you know, each family is different and each family comes with baggage. You know, no family's perfect, and you're kind of just jumping into one, and you kind of have to like kind of manage how you're gonna fit in with the family. But if it's your first time au pairing, I would probably recommend you go with a family that already has had an au pair before. Like the one in Italy, I think I was maybe like the 3rd or 4th au pair. In Spain, because it was my 2nd time au pairing, I was like, you know, I could maybe find a family that never had an au pair before, and thankfully the mom has been an au pair, which is actually a great idea if one of the parents has been an au pair, because they sort of know how to treat you and they know what it's like to have been an au pair. So I was their first au pair, and I really loved that family. And For this family in London, I was their first au pair. The one right now was probably the most difficult for me because she's a single mom and she's got a full-time job, you know, and she's very busy, and we just didn't communicate the same way. But now it's much better. In the very beginning, I just thought it was very personal, and so I just had a hard time like understanding what she meant. But now, thankfully, I understand it after living with them for 2 months. I know this video took a really long time, but I think if I filmed this before, I'm not gonna lie, like I honestly thought about going home once or twice being here. I think it's such a great idea that I didn't, because I learned so much here. It really made me realize how great I have it and how I should be very thankful for everything I have. But I definitely learned a lot, and now we're really good. Like I know what I'm doing most of the time, and we've kind of got our routine going. But I will say communication's a really, really big thing. So the more the better. Oh, I wanted to say I actually watched like an au pair video where the girl just didn't fit in with the family. But I will say the first month is the hardest because you're just going in not knowing anything after like FaceTiming them. And then the second month is usually when you're getting a little bit better and adjusting. And then the third month is usually when you've got it down. And then by that it's like time to go home. So what I've realized that like with the other families as well is when you have it all down, it's like time to go, but at least like you've learned what you were supposed to do and you've kind of like mastered it. So I think that's like accomplishment in itself. Don't just leave when it gets hard. It usually gets better than that. That was what I learned this time, because I was thinking about just going home. My mom was just telling me like, you know, like you're gonna come home on a specific day, so if you just try a little bit harder and try to endure it, it might be better. And you know, at the time, obviously when something's hard, it feels like it's never ending, but it does get better. Trust me, time heals. I will say, I was watching an au pair video and she was talking about how she just wasn't a right fit for the family. Each au pair is gonna have a different experience with the family. So if you're talking to an au pair that your family's had before and they didn't have a good experience, it might have not just been the family's fault though, because sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's the au pair. It's kind of like all perspective. So like don't just listen to one side of the story. Worst comes to worst, you can always go home. So like I think each family taught me something different, and I've met amazing people which I would never trade for the world. You get lonely sometimes. I also realized how important my family was to me, especially after traveling. Because I miss them a lot and my friends. But when you go back home, what I realized is everything's the same. And the only thing different is you, because you've traveled and you've learned more and you've seen different things. Like if you stay, what I'm trying to say is like if you're staying home, nothing's gonna change. So might as well go out and explore the world and meet different people on the other side of the world. Sometimes you're gonna miss the train. Sometimes, you know, you're not gonna have good experiences in that certain country, but you will learn and grow from it. I can promise you that you will most likely become a better version of yourself, and you'll be very, very proud of yourself once you go ahead and try it. If I could go back in time and do it all over again, I would. And the thing is, I think when it's really, really hard, you're just like, oh, like, why did I do this? But I think at the very, very end, you just end up crying before you go home because you know you're gonna miss them. Usually, from my experience at the end, you don't think of all the hard times that you've had, like, during your experience. I usually think about all the things that I didn't do and all the memories that I didn't make with the kids and the family and all the things that I wish I'd done. So none of the sad or hard times really comes to mind. I think that's what's truly like fascinating about like the human brain, how we don't remember all the hard times. Like we just remember most of the happy times, at least for me. Being in London got me feeling some type of way. I think it was coming here and seeing all the leaves on the ground, because when I first came here it was summer. I was just thinking about like all the hard times and how I'm so glad that I stuck with it and I stayed, because my friends are coming soon. I'm gonna be able to see the Christmas lights. I just think it's a very interesting experience that not many people get to have. So if you have the opportunity and the time and the money to do it, I would say definitely do it. When you're picking a country, I will say try to go for a country that you're interested in and there's a lot of things you'd like to do there. Don't just pick like a boring country. Go to a place that you're interested in learning about the culture, people, the food, the history. I don't know, if I were to rate the places, I would say Italy is a really great place to go as a first time like au pair experience, just because like there's so many different, like there's Rome, Florence, there's Milan, there's so many different like touristy places to go like on weekend trips, and the trains there's a lot of trains and they're not too expensive. So I will say it's a great place to go. I would say go during the summer. I went during like autumn, like summer going into autumn. I really, really liked it. I was in a place called Imperia, which I think is a great location. I didn't know anything going into it, but it's really close to Nice, France. And it's also really near like Genoa or Milan. You could take a weekend trip to Rome. Like it's very, very, like in a great spot. Highly recommend. The people are amazing there, and the beach is, oh my god, to die for. I loved Spain. If I were to do Spain again, I'd probably do Madrid, because Madrid is in the middle of everything. So you can go take a day trip to like Sevilla, you could go take a day trip to like Barcelona. If you like the water, I would say do Valencia or Barcelona, but if you don't really mind like the water, I would say if you're gonna go traveling on the weekends, do Madrid. Madrid is beautiful. I think it's like a quieter, cleaner version of New York. So many great people, so many things to do, beautiful weather, the parks there, the parks. I love parks. I think the people there were actually the best out of all the countries. Definitely learn some of the words before you go to your country. I would say London is really great because there's always something to do. I will say come during the winter time. I would say it's really magical here. The Christmas decorations are going up. So many museums, restaurants, like decorations to see, so much shopping. The London is a bit more expensive just because the pounds are worth more. The parents in Italy and Spain paid me in cash most of the time, but the mom here in London likes to pay me through like PayPal. When you choose the country or like that specific city, make sure that's what you're going for. So like when I'm in Spain, Spain's like the weather's nicer, so the people tend to be a bit more relaxed. They enjoy family time, eating, so it's a bit slower. So is Italy. Like nothing's really like boom 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 fast. Like they enjoy their time together when they're eating and talking. But from my experience in London's it's like a fast-paced city. So like you're going here, you're going there, like so the people definitely have to get adjusted to it, which means if you're going into that family, you're gonna be like that too. So that's what I didn't think about. Like London's very fast-paced. It's like Manhattan. So I just didn't think about that because I was just coming from Spain before I got here. So I was getting used to the relaxed, like slow life, and then it was like bam, 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 bam. Definitely keep that in mind. What city you're going to, make sure that's sort of like the lifestyle that you want to be in for the next few months. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this answered a lot of your questions. I'm gonna do the next part soon. If there's a few questions that I didn't answer just about like talking to the families or how to choose a country, let me know. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something.